Namaste, Hamesha Khusro Bitia. I am JVN Dr. Pinakshi, Assistant Professor in Department of Shalakya Faculty of Ayurvedic Science, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. Today in this session, we will discuss the corneal ulcer. But before that, we have to discuss a brief review of the inflammations of cornea. What is the inflammation of cornea? It is known as a keratitis. And keratitis is characterized by corneal edema, cellular infiltration, and ciliary congestion. These are the three terms which are very important in terms of keratitis. Ciliary congestion is related to the eye redness, and then the classification of the keratitis. It is difficult and to classify and assign a group to each and every case of keratitis, as overlapping of the concurrent findings tend to obscure the picture. And however, the following simplified topographical and etiological classifications provide a workable knowledge. First, there is the topographical classification or the morphological classification. It can be divided into two types of ulcer keratitis: ulcerative keratitis and as a non-ulcerative keratitis. So first we will classify the ulcerative keratitis. Ulcerative keratitis is the corneal ulcer. Corneal ulcer can be further classified variously depending upon the location. It can be central corneal ulcer or the peripheral corneal ulcer. Depending upon the purulence, they can be purulent corneal ulcer or suppurative corneal ulcer, which is most bacterial and fungal corneal ulcers are suppurative. And second is a non-purulent corneal ulcer, which most of the viral, chlamydial and allergic corneal ulcers are non-suppurative. Then the third classification is depending upon the association of hyperpoion. There can be simple corneal ulcer without hyperpoion, and second there is hyperpoion corneal ulcer. Then the fourth classification is depending upon the depth of the ulcer. There can be superficial corneal ulcer, second one deep corneal ulcer, third one corneal ulcer with impending perforation, and fourth is the perforated corneal ulcer. Then depending upon the slough formation, there is non-sloughing corneal ulcer and sloughing corneal ulcer. Then there is non-ulcerative keratitis. It can be superficial keratitis or deep keratitis. Then superficial keratitis can be classified as the diffuse superficial keratitis and the superficial punctate keratitis, which is also known as the SPK. Then deep keratitis can be non-suppurative and suppurative. In the non-suppurative deep keratitis can be classified as interstitial keratitis, disciform keratitis, keratitis profunda, sclerosing keratitis, whereas the suppurative deep keratitis can be classified as the central corneal abscess or posterior corneal abscess. Then there is the etiological classification. It can be infective keratitis, allergic keratitis, trophic keratitis, keratitis associated with diseases of skin and mucous membrane, keratitis associated with systemic collagen vascular disorders, traumatic keratitis, idiopathic keratitis. So, in case of first classification, the infective keratitis, it can be bacterial, viral, fungal, chlamydial, protozoal, spirochetal. Allergic keratitis can be flectanular keratitis, vernal keratitis, atopic keratitis. The trophic keratitis can be exposure keratitis, neuroparalytic keratitis, keratomalacia, atheromatous ulcer. Then keratitis associated with disease of skin and mucous membrane, keratitis associated with systemic collagen vascular disorders, then traumatic keratitis, which may be due to mechanical trauma, chemical trauma, thermal burns, radiations. Then idiopathic keratitis, for example, Woodens corneal ulcer, superior limbic keratoconjunctivitis, superficial punctate keratitis of Thygson. And then we come to the ulcerative keratitis. Corneal ulcer may be defined as discontinuation in the normal epithelial surface of cornea associated with. So first is the infective keratitis, the bacterial corneal ulcer. Bacterial corneal ulcer being the most anterior part of eyeball, the cornea is exposed to atmosphere and hence prone to get infected easily. At the same time, cornea is protected from the day-to-day minor infections by the normal defense mechanisms present in tears in the form of lysozyme, beta-lysine, and other protective proteins. Therefore, infective corneal ulcer may develop when either the local ocular defense mechanism jeopardized or there is some local ocular predisposing disease or host immunity is compromised or the causative organism is very virulent. Then the etiology of the bacterial corneal ulcer. There are two main factors in the production of the purulent corneal ulcer. First is the damage to the corneal epithelium and second is the infection of the eroded area. However, following three pathogens can invade the intact corneal epithelium and produce ulceration. That is Neisseria gonorrhea, Corynebacterium diphtheria, and Neisseria meningitis. Then first point is the corneal epithelial damage. It is a prerequisite for most of the infecting organisms to produce corneal ulceration. It may occur in following conditions. First, corneal abrasion due to the small foreign body, misdirected cilia, concretions, and trivial trauma in contact lens wearers or otherwise. Second is the epithelial drying, as in xerosis and exposure keratitis. Then third is due to the necrosis of epithelium, as in keratomalacia. Fourth is the desquamation of epithelial cells as a result of corneal edema, as in bullous keratopathy. Fifth is the epithelial damage due to trophic changes, as in neuroparalytic keratitis. Then second point is the sources of infection. It includes the exogenous infection from the ocular tissue and endogenous infection. Exogenous infection, the most of the times corneal infection arises from exogenous source like conjunctival sac, lacrimal sac in case of dacryocystitis, cystitis, infected foreign bodies, infected vegetable material, and waterborne or airborne infections. Then source of infection from the ocular tissue owing to direct autonomic anatomical continuity diseases of the conjunctiva readily spread to corneal epithelium, those of sclera to stroma, and of the uveal tract to the endothelium of cornea. Then third source of infection is the endogenous infection owing to a vascular nature of cornea, endogenous infections and are of rare occurrence. The third point is the causative organisms. Common bacteria associated with corneal ulceration are Staphylococcus aureus, Pseudomonas pyocyaina, Streptococcus pneumoniae, E. coli, Proteus, Klebsiella, and gonorrhea, and meningitis, and Corynebacterium diphtheria. So this session completes here. Rest part of the bacterial corneal ulcer we will discuss in the next session. Thank you so much. This session is powered by Digital Version 2.0 Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. I hope you are satisfied with my digital session. If you have any query, please mention in the comment box. I will resolve it. Thank you so much. Diopter, which is the one third of the total refractive power of the eye. It is a three-fourth of the total refractive power of eye. That is, the total refractive power of eye is 60 diopter, and that of cornea is 45 diopter. Then the histology, there are 6 layers: anterior epithelium, Bowman's membrane, central stroma, Dua's layer, Descemet's membrane, endothelium. You can see in this image the epithelium, Bowman's layer, stroma, Dua's layer, Descemet's layer, and endothelium. First, the epithelium. The cornea epithelium is stratified, squamous, and non-keratinized. It is continuous with conjunctival epithelium at limbus, but having no goblet cells. Thickness is 50 to 90 micrometer. Consists of 5 or 6 layers of nucleated cells resting on a basal lamina, namely the basal cells, wing cells, and the surface cells. The basal lamina is secreted by the basal cells. It is 0.1 to 1 micrometer wide. Ultrastructurally, it is distinguished in two parts: lamina lucida and lamina densa. Lamina lucida is superficial, lamina densa is deep osmophilic. Then epithelial turnover. The early study suggested that the epithelium replaced approximately weekly by division of basal cells and the older shell from the surface. It is now recognized that the germinative region lies at the limbus. The stem cells and the cells migrate at a very slow rate to the center of cornea, which may be as long as the ear. Second layer, the Bowman's membrane. It binds the corneal stroma anteriorly with basement membrane of epithelium. It is not a true elastic membrane. Once destroyed, does not regenerate. Shows considerable resistance to infection and injury. Third layer is the stroma, which is 0.5 mm thick. The stroma or substantia propria occupies about 90% of the total corneal thickness. Composed of corneal collagen fibrils, keratocytes, and extracellular ground substances, the lamellae are arranged in many layers, 200 to 250, and are parallel to each other. The anterior one-third stroma has a lamella are thin, and in the posterior two-third of the stroma, the lamellae are larger. Next layer is the Dua's layer, which was discovered by Dr. Harminder Singh Dua at the University of Nottingham in 2013. It is a fourth layer, which is 15 microns thick. It is a strong layer and impervious to air. Fifth layer is the Descemet's membrane. It is a strong homogeneous layer. It is a basement membrane of endothelium made up of the collagen and glycoproteins. It is elastic. It can regenerate. It has a resistance to chemical agents, infection, and pathological processes. The peripheral rim of Descemet's membrane is the internal landmark of the corneal limbus, and also it is the anterior limit of the trabecular measure, which is called the Schwalbe's line. Then the last layer is the endothelium. Corneal endothelium is a simple squamous epithelium. Endothelial cells are hexagonal, which forms a continuous mosaic pattern, best seen in specular microscopy. Cell density at birth is 6,000 cells per micrometer square, and in young adults 2,500 to 3,000 cells per square millimeter. The endothelial cells cannot divide or replicate. With aging, the cell density of the endothelium decreases, which is compensated by an increase in the cell size or shape. As these endothelial cells are involved in corneal hydration, they help in maintenance of corneal transparency. The blood supply of cornea. The cornea is a vascular structure. Small loops derived from the anterior ciliary vessels invade its periphery for about 1 mm. Actually, these loops are not in cornea, but in the subconjunctival tissue which overlaps the cornea. Then the nerve supply of the cornea. Cornea is supplied by the anterior ciliary nerves, which are branches of the ophthalmic division of fifth cranial nerve. After going about 2 mm in cornea, the nerve loses their myelin sheath and divides dichotomously and forms three plexus: stromal plexus, subepithelial plexus, and the interepithelial plexus. Then the applied physiology of cornea. Primary physiological functions of the cornea are to act as a major refractive medium and to protect the intraocular contents. Then the last point is corneal transparency. It is a result of peculiar arrangement of corneal lamellae, peculiar refractive index of corneal lamellae, vascularity of the cornea, relative state of dehydration, swelling pressure of stroma counters the imbibition effect of IOP,
and corneal crystallines, water-soluble proteins of the keratocytes. Thank you so much. This session is powered by Digital Version 2.0, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. I hope you are satisfied with my digital session. If you have any query, please write in the comment box. I will resolve it. Thank